Hello, demoiselles. Welcome back to my channel for another informative session worth your time. My name is Tricia and I'm a content creator. Now, if this is the first time you're here, make sure you click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on anything new that I publish every week. I'm grateful that you are here and thank you for your continued support and loyalty. I am so glad to be back and I hope the excitement is mutual. So without further ado, I'm going to dive right in our topic of the week. As we're anticipating the new year, I thought it will be of great essence to talk about a few healthy habits and things that we need to normalize for better relationships with ourselves and those around us. As people value, we are called to supply energy and resources to unlearn toxic behaviors picked up over the years and genuinely try to be better. This is an essential part of the self-development process as it will enable us to make progress and see the change that we seek to see in certain areas of our lives. And so here is the first thing we need to start normalizing as people value and substance moving forward. I would also like to encourage you to participate by leaving a comment in the comment section of some of the things or habits you believe we should stop doing going forward. We're a community. We are here to help one another grow and reach our full potential as individuals of virtue and charisma in our daily personal encounters. Okay, so let's get started. We need to start normalizing cooperation over competition. We live in a society where everyone is so self-centered and egocentric. Competition is good, but when not used properly, competition can be toxic and counterproductive. It is worthwhile to say that our competitive nature can become toxic when we are motivated by others' success rather than our own self-mastery, which constrains us to settle for less than we might otherwise accomplish. Whenever you decide to entertain negative competition, it translates as sabotaging others or lowering your own goals and settling for just slightly besting others. But this does not override the positive side effects of competition. In fact, competition can be very healthy as it lays the foundation for self-improvement and motivation. It helps us stay focused and foster our knowledge of teamwork and perseverance. All of this results in resilience, new skills, and passion. When judging and assessing ourselves in relation to others by forsaking the notion of individuality, it creates the opposite effect. Many of us fall into the trap of anxiety, depression, and harsh self-criticism. Once stressed, we may feel overwhelmed and burnout, which is far from being a favorable outcome after all the emotional and physical efforts that go into trying to outshine or outstand a friend, classmate, colleague, neighbor, you name it. Whereas, if we choose to work in collaboration, the outcomes may differ greatly. As when working in collaboration, we are working as a team, not rivals or opponents. We join forces, we decide to celebrate each other's differences and similarities, which enable us to create a safe space where we can both thrive individually and collectively as a team. When working in collaboration and cohesion, if one person wins, it means the other one also wins somehow in some way. Given that none of these two will brag about winning or complain about losing. When navigating the world through the lens of competition, we tend to withhold information and not share knowledge or expertise with one another for fear of losing an edge to a rival in the workplace or society at large. In fact, it has been found by experts that hyper-competitive individuals, those who have a need to win at all costs, were more impatient and irritable than their less competitive counterparts, and they had higher self-reported health problems, including heart disease. Another study went to show that these individuals tend to be highly narcissistic and have lower self-esteem and higher rates of anxiety and depression than others. Hyper-competitive individuals can be defined as people in need of constant validation by engaging in various social activities, trying to prove that they are better than their counterparts. One among many of the dangers of a competitive personality is that even a non-competitive situation can become competitive and ruin pleasurable moments or experiences. This can go as far as meeting someone in a hotel elevator and be bothered that they are staying a few floors higher than you. As silly as it may sound, it is very real, and we have people among us with such mentality. So here are 2 quick questions for you to reflect on. What would withholding information from people you work with so that you can be the one who solves the problem benefit you? Why not share? The second question is, what value would come from pointing out someone else's error in a conversation to make yourself look better? What benefit will you gain from that? As you're reflecting on that, I would like to invite you to stop trying to manage other people's impression of you, as by doing so, you are unconsciously competing with them over the image of you. You cannot manage the impression others have of you, but you can most certainly contribute to the well-being of other people in so many ways that will add value to your life and your relationship, as it will create a cascade of positive consequences for both parties. This goes to show that it is cooperation and not competition that has been the source of almost every societal advancement in history. This leads me to briefly talk about the mission of Jesus on earth. If only he had refused to die at the cross for us and be humiliated to redeem us, where would we be? Would our salvation as believers of Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior be possible? How many animals could we have afforded to kill every day to offer as a sacrifice for every committed sin? And how many of these sacrifices could have been accepted or rejected by God? It goes to show that one of the fundamental pillars of collaboration is humility, meaning accepting to be a stepping stone or even ladder for your peers. This also means acknowledging when you are wrong and asking God for the grace of forgiveness. Ask Him for the grace to learn to appreciate other people's accomplishments and blessings. By doing so, you will be able to fight against the lies of our enemy, who has the goal to steal, kill, and destroy. This brings me to another crucial point, and I am not too sure if you're familiar with the story of Cain and Abel in the Bible. Just a little bit about Cain and Abel for those who have not had a chance to read the story yet. The story is the story of 2 brothers who were assigned to separate tasks on the land and offered 2 offerings to God. While Cain's offering was appreciated, God preferred the sacrifice of Abel and thought it was better. After this, Cain convinced Abel to go out in the field with him, where he then murdered him. God realized this, even though Cain denies this and plays dumb, and banishes Cain into a life of vagabond and outcast of society. So here's a quick analysis of the story in relation to our topic of today. So Cain killed his brother out of envy, though some other theories may suggest otherwise. Where there is lack of collaboration, there is no lack of envy, jealousy, competition, and so many other ungodly and ugly feelings. If only Cain saw Abel's blessings and wins as his own, I don't think the idea of killing Abel would occur in his mind. They could have achieved so many things as brothers if only Cain had loved in a way that God commands us to love one another. Competition is a destiny killer. Cain was cursed by God as a result of competition. If it was not for competition and comparison, I don't think Abel could have died the way he did. But again, everything happens for a reason, and it's for us to learn and extract lessons from, in hopes to avoid repeating history, especially when the outcomes are negative. There's so much to learn from the 2 brothers' story, but for the sake of today's topic, it is better to narrow it down to competition and comparison for a better understanding. I am almost 100% sure that if Cain took the time to practice introspectivity by trying to understand what may be causing his offerings to be declined by God, by asking God to search his heart and help him develop a better relationship with his Creator, then maybe his action would have been different. Instead, Cain decided to use Abel as a benchmark, a measuring scale for his validation before God. He was judging his relationship with God based on the relationship Abel had with God, which resulted in his own frustration, not knowing that even though they are brothers, God has a different relationship with each one of them, vibrating at different frequencies. Look at it this way. Sometimes we may pray for things to God through Jesus Christ, but does that mean that our prayers will be answered immediately? I believe we may all have different answers to this question. Some of us may have said yes, and some may have said no. For those of us that said no, does this give us a reason to hate those that said yes? Does this give us a reason to terminate their life just because God did not answer us, though we prayed at the same time and maybe even attend the same church? I hope you find some time to think about this. See, now the thing is, some of you may say the answer is so obvious. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't terminate their life, right? But metaphorically speaking, do you know that we kill though we are not using any physical weapon once we engage in competition? We might be judging Ken, but we are not doing any better when, for example, we point out someone else's error in a conversation to make ourselves look better, or when we try to make someone feel bad by bragging about our wins and ephemeral wealth. Some people just want to see others crash and burn on their way to the top. This story is here to remind us that we must not take competition too far, or else we won't achieve our goals and be worse off for the long run. I hope we can all agree that Ken did this so he could be appreciated and accepted by God. His desires were right, but his actions were very wrong. Who knows if Ken used a different strategy by approaching Abel to learn his way of preparing and presenting his offering to God. Maybe things could have turned different. Which ties back to what I talked about earlier on. It only takes a humble person to be able to say, I don't know. Please help me out. Teach me how to do this. Please show me. So many of us, myself included, are taught to be independent and self-sufficient, which makes asking for help sometimes difficult for the fear of being laughed at, for not knowing, or feeling like a loser for not figuring it out by ourselves. But again, one thing we seem to forget is that life was never meant to be figured out by ourselves. That is why God established the concept of family and relationships, for us to collaborate and help one another through the odyssey of life. This famous story in the Bible that happened so many years ago can be applied very well to modern social settings. As human beings, myself included, we compete for so many reasons, including but not limited to wanting to be celebrated, validated, honored, and acknowledged by society. So here's a quick advice for you. When engaging in any sort of activity, your purpose should always be centered on why you do it and how it will enrich you and others. Avoid feelings involving dominating or conquering anyone else. When engaging in any sort of activity, your purpose should always be centered on why you do it and how will it enrich you and others. Try to avoid feelings involving dominating or conquering anyone else. Shift your lens from me to us and cleanse your spirit from fear of being seen less than or more than. You are unique and different in your own ways, and that is where lies your power, and that of those that may want to rely on you for areas they fall short on in their lives, but believe you will be a great source of help and support in their journey. We are meant to complete one another and not to fight against each other. Some of us, our destinies are interconnected, whether we like it or not, which means at a certain point of your life, an individual will serve as a stepping stone to your success or to lead you to different horizons in your life. I would like to end this episode by saying that we should all engage in activities because we find them enjoyable and valuable in their own right. Our intrinsic motivation should not outweigh our extrinsic motivation. Your only competition should be yourself. By that, I mean you're trying to be a better version of yourself day by day. You're trying to be a better person than you were yesterday, right? And that marks the end of our video for today. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, kindly let me know in a comment below And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content. Thank you very much for watching and see you soon. À bientôt, mesdemoiselles!